Hi there, Timothy Linsdau, video producer and a Christian and a Kiwanian and a Boy Scout, are doing my part in my semi-retirement. What's going on the border? Is Trump winning the border wars? He's making a good stab at it. Trump administration's built 100 miles of new wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, of which I've shown in previous videos, the majority of which is replacing the previous construction, like the old land mats or landing mats from the Vietnam era. Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf announced in Arizona on Friday as the administration touts its record ahead of the presidential election. Well, politics and elections have an effect, do they not? Against the backdrop of a section of wall Wolf called the 100-mile mark a milestone of achievement. Now, there are other parts, many parts of this wall, and I've seen some of them before they were even arguing over Trump building a wall. It's been worked on in different sections for some years. 100 miles are only a portion of the administration's goal to build 450 miles by the end of this year. And the majority replaces wall that was already in place. Now that could be. If they're taller than they were, than the ones I saw, or taller than they are in the ones I saw. Now I had some video where it was rescued from a flood down there showing you how tall that wall is. It's over 30 feet. Their goal, as of December 6th, around 90 miles of barriers that had been constructed replaced old dilapidated designs, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The agency has not provided updated figures. Now, 3 years into his presidency, Trump has faced a host of legal challenges over the border wall. In his attempt to shore up the effort with additional funds from government accounts, as the election year ramps up, his key campaign promises to likely to take a new urgency. This is a milestone achievement for the president, the department, and more importantly for our country, including communities like Yuma, Arizona, Wolf said Friday. Now, yet, of the 100 miles, few are areas where there was previously no wall. In Yuma, Arizona, as I mentioned, where Wolf's conference took place, rundown barriers were replaced, which means that was not, it's new wall, but no, not new linear wall. If that makes sense. Also, what's going on the border with this thing with refugees and asylums? The Asylum Act of 1979, or Refugee Act actually, helps us to understand what's going on the border and with the asylum issue. Now, you may recall a year and more ago when the caravans first started coming into Tijuana, and that whole news cycle that came up from that issue where even the drug cartel got involved, putting people on buses, bring them to the border, and have staging places for them to cross. Now, again, the cartel's not stupid. They're always looking for a way to make money. Well, what an easier way than just hiring some buses and drivers, putting people on the bus for an outlandish amount and sending them to the border saying, we'll get you crossed. Which is true. It really was no big deal getting across, because they would cross en masse. Now, it didn't work so well down here by this border in San Ysidro because it's so heavily defended with new walls and double walls and Border Patrol and National Guard and oh my word. But you know, one of the bright things out of this issue from pressure that Trump's put on is Mexico's had to form its own National Guard on its own border. And I think that's a terrific thing. One of the things that affects or a lot of these people don't know they're trying to cross with refugee status, is they have to prove that they're under some threat from their country's origin, the origin of their country. Hope I said that right. They have to prove that the government of that country is out to kill them, harm them, whatever it is. Yes, they're probably running from bad gangs and neighborhoods, or they can go on, people persecuting them, whatever, but it's not a government. And that's what's so important. So recently I had a conversation with a customs agent that was down on the border. farther east from here. Let's put it that way. And they're watching and observing, and about 150 people lining up on the other side of the border in some area where they can cross easily. And his partner says, they're all going to come across at once. He says, well, how do you know that? Well, you look down there, you see a vendor, and he's selling baby food and diapers and odds and ends to these people to have what they need to get across. And when they get across, what are they going to do? Also, brand new shoes. You see those lined up. So if they get all muddy and whatnot. Years ago, you could go down here in this border valley when there was a lot of crossings. You'd find dirty old muddy clothes and shoes laying all over the place because they put new clothes and shoes inside a bag and then carry it across the swamps and whatever. When they get to where it's dry, they would change and go into the population. They wouldn't look that abnormal. Well, the same with this 150 people. And sure enough, they all come across at once. So my friend and his partner, they go down, and the people are just calm and relaxed. They get across the border and say, we're here, we want to claim asylum. And that's what they do. So the Border Patrol guys, customs agents, filling out all the paper, the refugee asylum paper, that these people are saying that that's what they want to claim, is that status. Well, then he gets onto the phone and he calls another group of agents and said, hey, we got about 150 here. We need your help. We're calling for pickup to carry them to staging areas somewhere. And the other guy on the other end goes, it's going to take us a little bit. We got 200 down here. So it gives you an idea how many people are moving across that border and why they end up with separated kids, people not treated well. They're overwhelmed. I mean, the Border Patrol, the Customs, all of them are basing what they're going to need to do on that border based on what's happened before. So now things have changed where you get these dramatic shifts in the number of people coming across. It's very difficult for them to keep up with it. But apparently they are. I haven't heard much complaint from much of anybody lately. But one thing, again, with that Refugee Act, is Mexico is offering asylum to anybody that comes across their border, mostly the southern border with Central America. So they come across, they can claim asylum there in Mexico and make their way in Mexico, and there's some that have. But the problem is for them, when they get over here and they cross the border and they claim asylum, they're going to be turned back. And maybe some of these lawyers around here who say they're helping them out ought to know this. They've already lost before they cross that border because they came through Mexico and not claiming asylum. So any place they come from, any immigrant comes from, to try to get in the U.S. as a refugee claiming asylum, if they go through any country that does offer asylum, they're niet. They can't claim asylum because they've already gone through countries that would give them asylum. So there's a new quirk in the action of trying to seek asylum. So they got to know something about that law. And wherever these lawyers that I've reported on before know, they ought to be knowing that, telling these people, unless they're in just some activist mode where they're going to try to help out the world. I mean, that's a nice thing, but how are we going to afford all that? So Trump is getting some of the wall built, about 100 miles of it here. He hopes to finish 450 miles of it soon. That's pretty quick to finish that by the end of the year. But they're saying they remain confident and on track for 450 miles that either completed or under construction by the end of 2020. So there's a little news from the border, folks. Hope it all works out for us one way or the other to the good. So like and comment on my videos, subscribe to my channel if you would. That'd be terrific to keep the border news and other news coming. There's a lot of things to talk about. So thanks a lot for watching, and now get out there and just make it a great day.